I'm Mark Ritter, and I've been in the credit union business for 20 years, over 20 years, and just focused on one thing, and that is helping real estate investors through credit unions.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. It's Jennifer J. Hammond, and I'm so excited. We have a guest that you probably never thought we would have here before. So Mark Ritter, welcome to the show.
Jennifer, thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Well, I'm really excited. We don't talk about credit unions very often, and your background is really interesting. And so I don't want to steal your thunder, but first of all, let's just start with a little bit about your background and what you do with credit unions.
Sure. I have a wife and two kids, and they don't know much about credit unions either and don't talk about it at home. So it won't be the first time for me.
Oh, that's perfect.
So I'm Mark Ritter, and I've been in the credit union business for 20 years, over 20 years, and just focused on one thing, and that is helping real estate investors through credit unions. For 10 years, I was started up a business lending shop at a very large credit union. And 10 years ago, I jumped in as the CEO of my current company, MBFS. And we are owned by 13 credit unions and work with 100 credit unions nationwide, and just focused on helping real estate investors and credit unions fund these real estate loans for investors at their local credit union.
And so the acronym MBFS.
It technically stands for Member Business Financial Services, but it's quite a mouthful for me. So I always just say MBFS.
Of course. Well, and like you said, you've been around this for 20 years, and it's so interesting because I think especially real estate investors, when they think about where's my money, who's got my money, where am I going to get the money to do my real estate investing? It's not usually the conversation to go to a credit union, right?
That is exactly why I like to be out and spread the word and be the Pied Piper of credit unions, whether it's one of my credit unions or not. Because the crazy thing is 125 million Americans belong to credit unions. Where's the easiest place to get your money? Where do you want that relationship? Where you have those local accounts? And so many real estate investors just forget and overlook their local credit union as a great source of financing, when personally, I think it's the best deal out there. And what does everybody want? Everybody says, I want a relationship with my lender. I want to talk to them. I want access to them. And that's what a credit union is. It's a local institution owned by the depositors that are the members, run for the members, where you can go in and actually have a conversation like a person.
And I think that's one thing that, again, it always reminds me, this can show you my age. I remember when they used to go to the gas station and they would check your oil and really really look at everything for you. And I think when you walk into a bank, you want to have that kind of relationship. And as a real estate investor, often I'm a real estate investor myself. Often we think, well, I want the person in there to be able to look at all of my information, because I don't necessarily fit into a square box. I'm that square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And I've heard that over and over again, my whole real estate investing life, that I just don't fit in there. And so having that relationship, I think, just is a game changer. And I'm curious for you guys as well, when you don't check all the boxes for underwriting. I mean, nobody likes, everybody loves the automatic underwriting, but when you need to have someone who will look at you because you don't fit into all those boxes, is that where you guys are kind of
the people on the very top 10% of the credit spectrum and the people on the very, very bottom 10% of the credit spectrum, those are what we call the easy yeses and the easy nos. And getting your financials, getting the information on the deal, doing appraisals, that's the easy part. That's the here's the numbers piece of it. What we're most interested in is the story of who you are. Tell me about this property. What's your ability to manage this property? And where do you want to go? I always say it's kind of like an 8th grade dance. Sometimes you're sitting there staring at each other and nobody knows what quite to do. But we want to have that conversation to bring people together, to understand the numbers more than just look at the numbers. To me, as a lender, the most boring thing that we could do is stuff all your information in a box and out comes a decision. Right. I would hate to work in that place. I hate that type of lending. I want to know the conversation. I want to know the people. I want to find out who they are, where they're going. And listen, nobody's perfect. We all have some warts. What has been working, what hasn't, and what can we do to get you there? That's what credit unions can offer people.
And that's a completely different experience than, especially, I'm just going to say it, the mainstream big banks that, we see often in every city. It's what I'm finding. It's more about the relationship with either the small, tiny little banks or the credit unions that really can make a difference, especially as real estate investors. I've been told more than once, you own too much real estate. And I'm like, no, I don't. That can never be said. I never have too much,
Well, and credit unions are cooperatives. A lot of times, how many people currently listening to this have a car loan or a mortgage or an account with a credit union where they don't even know what the heck it is? Yeah. Credit unions are cooperatives. And one of the principles of cooperatives is that cooperatives work together among one another. That's where I come in. Most credit unions are small, mid-sized institutions. So we work together. We're owned by the credit unions to bring all the credit unions together. So everybody doesn't have to hire their own back office of underwriters and salespeople and buy all their own software systems. So we bring them together so they can offer these services. But then credit unions many times are small, mid-sized institutions. We actually pull the funding together so you can grow with your credit union as well. And they work together to help fund loans to real estate investors, because many people will have that job and they get into their first 1 or 2 properties. And then as you progress, it becomes a hobby or passive income to a career or a retirement career. So we really like working with people through that entire life cycle of where you're at in the spectrum.
And let's talk a little bit about the types of loans that are available with credit unions, because again, a lot of people, they just, as you just said, they might have a car loan through a credit union, but they didn't even know because it got resold from the dealership. So they really don't know what credit unions do for loans.
Sure. We deal, credit unions are not a homogenous industry. There's 4,800 of them. And we really try to bring you the power of the industry. We do the smallest, maybe you have $100,000 1 to 4 family rental property just to start out. We do a lot of larger multifamily. We deal in all of the biggest cities, but then we do the whole spectrum of commercial real estate, from your warehouses, your office complexes, your medical buildings. Today the residential market is hot, so we're still doing a lot of residential property. Yeah. So really, it's that complete spectrum. And I haven't even scratched on the pure. Maybe you're a real estate investor and have a small business on the side. We do a lot of small business loans as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so what is the process with loan at a credit union, and how is it different from a bank?
Sure. We're a federally regulated financial institution. So I got to show that you can pay me back. And I'm not just, I'm not giving you a loan for 30% in a day to show, but so I got to show you pay it back. I would say the documentation that we need is pretty similar to anybody else. We're going to need a personal financial statement. We're going to want some tax returns, and we're going to want to look at your portfolio today along with what you're buying. And that's what I call the paint by numbers piece. But then from there, we're really going to want that's where you're going to see that difference in understanding and having that conversation with the decision makers on who this person is and what they're doing and how we can help. So that's the piece where you might say this is a little different, because I'm actually talking to people. And most credit unions, if you want to go in and meet the CEO, you can do that. You can't exactly do that at many of your local commercial banks or larger Wall Street lenders.
Definitely.
So I always like to say the numbers piece of it is kind of the same. The back end in that other piece where we want to know in the decision-making process is really try to where we make it much more friendly and smooth.
So I guess I want to ask you this. I know you already answered it, but I want to ask it again in a nutshell. Why should a real estate investor decide to use a credit union versus a bank?
Sure. I think the terms that we offer are really favorable. The interest rates are one thing, but the terms that we offer can be very favorable and friendly. And I'll give you the best example. No federal credit union can have a prepayment penalty on a loan. Okay.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Two years ago, when your rate was 3%, nobody really cared about that too much. In today's world, rates are a little bit higher. Rates are a lot higher. Well, when interest rates go down, you're going to want the flexibility to refinance that to a better deal. So I really think the scale of our industry and the terms that we can offer when it comes to what you're getting, your people are going to find very attractive.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And it's so important that people understand the difference between, a credit union and a bank, and then just all sorts of other mortgage, companies out there, that it's a very different experience. And I think that being able to go in and, like you said, meet the president, but also be able to come face to face with somebody and talk to them, and also find out, well, okay, if I didn't have everything you need for this particular property, what is it that you're looking for, and be able to have that conversation. Okay, so if I find the next property, do the ratios need to be different, or what are you looking for? What are your needs and wants? And that doesn't happen so much with a bank.
No, those are the reasons why we have a job today. And if I went to some lenders, I think they'd fire me in the first week, because I like this to be a relationship business. I like to have a conversation, and I like to come up with solutions that are win-win for people.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I want people to know, so if they wanted to get in touch with you or follow you, can you share a social media, website?
Sure. MBFS.org, MBFS.org. You can contact me directly, and we'll get you in touch with any one of our 100+ credit unions. Or feel free to reach out. I'm very active on LinkedIn, MarkRitter. Feel free to reach out with me. And if we don't have a credit union in your marketplace, we'll try to match you up with one and to get you moving as a new option.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming out and talking about credit unions, because definitely it's not one that people are talking about, and not for real estate investors especially. So thank you for all that you're doing, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as you know, I'm going to ask you to say yay, because I'm known for my yays as we go off the air. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Yay!
Hi.